happy June 1st. Wow. We are into the thick of things, folks. We're into the last month of the first half of the year. Kind of crazy, eh? Here, let's just leave that there. I'm going to put up the old link on the old TL real quick. Don't mind me if I do. I ran into some issues today, folks. We were running into, agent issues where I had to worry about, hold on, let me fix my hair. Yeah, I ran into agent issues where I had to worry about logging in remotely, and my script wasn't being sent, and my agents went offline. And then, just going around crypto Twitter today, freaking sad, dude, depressing. I mean, if you, cool, shout out to Neo Ignite. I mean, if you look at the news, I don't know. It was just not a good day. It's not a good week, honestly. Saylor sold his Bitcoin. Everyone is just absolutely dumping and dunking on Ethereum and Ethereum Foundation. Your favorite blockchain probably got hacked. Yeah, we're in the thick of it, folks. This is bear season. And it's also security season. So one of the pieces of news I have today talks about, three negative attacks. Anyways, let's start with something positive. The U.S. government has seized $1 billion in crypto from Iran. Yeah, wow. Which is nearly doubled the U.S. government's previous estimate. When the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve was first pitched last year, it sounded really cool because the U.S. government was going to be buying Bitcoin, right? But no, what ended up happening is the reserve is going to be built by seized assets from citizens and I guess from other countries now. Absolutely insane to see this amount of crypto taken from Iran, who, by the way, said that they were going to be using Bitcoin as a form of payment for tanker ships that are going through the Straits of Hormuz, which is where a lot of oil moves in and out from that region. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that they are indeed taking Bitcoin, and I'm definitely not going to say that it's a good or a bad thing. That being said, Iran now has less Bitcoin, now has less crypto, and the United States government holds 328,372 Bitcoin. Woo! Making it the largest known state holder of Bitcoin in the world, which is worth over $24 billion at today's prices. Yikes, dog. Let's just jump into probably why you all are here. Michael Saylor has sold his first Bitcoin since 2022. Wow. So Saylor's strategy sold 32 Bitcoin for $2.5 million. Why, might you ask? If one were going to take a overview at what's going on with MicroStrategy, and again, they are doing so many corporate balance sheet shenanigans that it's really hard to understand at a surface level what's going on with strategy, what their strategy is, pun intended, for buying Bitcoin, accumulating Bitcoin, and all these different stock offerings that they have, because they have STRC, they have STRK, all sorts of different shenanigans. Well, STRC is Strategy's is perpetual preferred stock, which offers yield to investors. And this sale is hopefully being attributed to selling Bitcoin to be able to cover STRC dividends. What ended up happening? 32 Bitcoin were sold for $2.5 million. And this is the first time the strategy sold Bitcoin since December of 2022. Again, they only got rid of 32 Bitcoin. And likely they had to do it to pay for their yields being offered on STRC, which is a little concerning. But that being said, this sale of Bitcoin was anticipated. Strategy executive previously said during its first quarter 2026 earnings call this year that it might sell some of its holding to fund dividends for STRC. And then Saylor went on to use some mathematical jujitsu, stating that the sale would eventually help Strategy buy more Bitcoin than it would sell to cover STRC's dividends. Okay, sure. Show me how selling more helps you buy more. I'm not going to sit here and dunk on Saylor or Strategy. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're all doom and gloom. And also, Saylor has said that he plans to buy 10 to 20 Bitcoin for every Bitcoin that it sells. Sure, maybe they buy more Bitcoin. The big issue here is that the market thought Saylor would consistently be a buyer of last resort for Bitcoin. And now, during the depths of the bear market of 2026, Strategy and Bitcoin's buyer of last reserve has sold Bitcoin. Has there been a break in the social contract that we, the denizens of CT, that we, the people who pay attention to blockchain and crypto, has there been a unspoken contract broken between us and one of the largest buyers of Bitcoin? Maybe. That being said, that Saylor is walking back his never sell statement and saying that one should be a net accumulator of Bitcoin. If you have to sell your Bitcoin, at least you can buy more and be a net accumulator. Well, I think what ended up happening here today is these corporate shenanigans that Strategy has been doing. They had to do some last minute shuffling to be able to keep the ship steady. And this last minute shuffling required that they sell $2.5 million worth of Bitcoin to keep up the yield distribution on STRC. Is this a canary in the coal mine? I don't know, man. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Like I said, there's 3 to 4 different stock options with Strategy. It's very confusing what he's doing. He's doing balance book tricks at a corporate level. And I think for now, the best course of action is to just keep going on as you were. Did Saylor buying hundreds of Bitcoin every week make you want to buy more Bitcoin every week? I hope not. I hope that the average person listening to this has a DCA strategy or has a strategy a little bit better than buy when Michael Saylor keeps buying. Look, in the grand scheme of things, it's only 32 Bitcoin that were sold. The guy has accumulated hundreds, if not thousands of Bitcoin in 2026 alone. Yeah, our social contract was broken, but you know what, man? Like, come on. Let's not freak out over 32 Bitcoin being sold from an entity that holds 843,706 Bitcoin. I just don't think that this is a reason to start losing our minds. The reason why Bitcoin and all other assets are going down in price today is because of macroeconomic issues, geopolitical tensions. Iran just said that they're not going to negotiate with the U.S. anymore, and that's going to have impacts on the Strait of Hormuz, and oil being distributed to the rest of the world, and goods and products coming in and out of that region of the world are now going to be impacted. So that's what's happening today with Bitcoin's price. Bitcoin is not down 2.87% over the past 24 hours because Michael Saylor's company sold 32 Bitcoin when they're sitting on 843,706. Let's just take a breath. Let's turn off crypto Twitter for today, for the next week, honestly. Honestly, the best thing that people can be doing, and this is not financial advice, but if you want to keep your sanity during these moments, and you, 5 years from now, think that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be at higher prices, honestly, turn off crypto Twitter, turn off the news, and turn on your auto dollar cost average, auto DCA. If you think that the price of digital assets, particularly blue chip assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe Solana, if you think they're going to be doing good in 5 years, today means nothing in the grand scheme of things. And that's kind of what's frustrating me about CT. Crypto Twitter has the memory of a goldfish, freaks out more than my girlfriend in middle school over nonsense, and loves to just blow up hot takes from random accounts. And so today when you see the latest hot take about Bitcoin from a .eth or the latest hot take on Saylor from a crypto hater, just remember that last week, none of those guys were saying anything about Strategy right now. And that last week, everything was great when Strategy bought another couple hundred Bitcoin. So, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, we can't control what's going on in geopolitical. We can't control what's going on in macroeconomics. We can't even control what's going on in regular markets. Don't let this stuff freak you out, man. And in the opposite and equal reaction, Bitmine acquired another 26,500 ETH. So for every, if Strategy didn't have to cover STRC dividends, they probably would have kept buying, just like Bitmine has continued to purchase. Bitmine was buying ETH in tranches of 100K at a time, but they slowed that down because their goal of acquiring 5% of the total ETH supply, which Tom Lee said was the company's goal to do by the end of 2026. If they were continuing to purchase ETH in 100K tranches at a time, then they would have hit their 5% goal in July. So Bitmine is slowing down its purchases. But that being said, they still bought $52 million worth of ETH. So now Bitmine holds 5.4 million ETH. They're staking a big chunk of that. And so their holdings is 4.49% of the total ETH supply. Remember last week when everybody was getting mad at the Ethereum Foundation? Heck, they're still getting mad at them now. But all of crypto Twitter is getting mad at basically at this point, an R&D community, a research and development community that holds 0.4% of the total ETH supply. And we're getting mad at the Ethereum Foundation because they made people sign a mandate that is focusing on building privacy-preserving features. Like, get real, CT. You're getting mad at the Ethereum Foundation for wanting to preserve the things that make Ethereum cypherpunk. And at the meantime, they only represent 0.4% of the total ETH supply. Meanwhile, Bitmine is just acquiring more and more and more. If CT really wants to see Ethereum changes, they should be asking Bitmine at this point to support developer communities and to support different Ethereum nodes of thought leaders for how they can build out more effectively. Tom Lee said in a statement, "In our view, ETH prices are not reflecting the strengthening of Ethereum fundamentals, but then again, this is not surprising given that we are in the early stages of crypto spring. Bitmine expected to reach the alchemy of 5% sometime in 2026. So, there we go. Oh my gosh. No, I am so sorry, folks. I forgot to set up my direct plugin. So if we're having issues, I apologize. So with all that said, let's just move on real quick before we get booted from Twitter Live. Gnosis is experiencing an exploit related to Gnosis Pay, where the delay module has been attacked in Gnosis Pay, and the team is trying to figure out what's going on with the damage. That being said, CEO Martin Koppelman has said that any user funds that have been stolen will be reimbursed, and that users should be resting assured. Koppelman said the attacker is able to initiate transactions from safe wallets carrying such a module of the delay module, and that Gnosis is asking bridge validators to pause as part of its containment response. Koppelman went on to say that he initially said that folks should remove assets, but then deleted that tweet asking users to withdraw funds because, quote, most users will not be able to do so, but we are actively working to contain the damage. We believe we can contain the majority of it. In any case, we will ensure that all users are made whole, end quote. This is pretty unfortunate. This is one of the larger neobanks in the blockchain and crypto space. And yeah, they've been attacked. This is security season. No one is safe. Not blue chip DeFi entities, not anyone. Use this as an opportunity to run an audit on your security hygiene. The goal in 2026 isn't to make yourself crystal proof, 100% secure. The goal is to create as many backstops in your security processes for how you store your crypto as possible to make it so that you are not the low-hanging fruit. Your goal is to add as much friction as possible into a bad actor coming after your crypto and digital assets. Because that's the only way you can protect yourself during security season. And we'll touch on that in a second. So we'll keep an eye out on Gnosis Pay. Super, super unfortunate to see what's happening there. Sui is finally back online after it had 3 mainnet halts to upgrade and fix its bugs. Sui went down for a couple hours last week, and no user funds were at risk, and AI was used to speed up the diagnosis of the incidents. So last night, Sui Foundation published its review of the outages that knocked the blockchain offline 3 times across Thursday and Friday, attributing the disruptions to 2 distinct bugs that were introduced with its latest software release. The first 2 halts stemmed from the same flaw in how Sui charges transactions for gas that were exposed by the address balances feature that version 1.72 of Sui introduced. What turned one outage into 2 was the patch itself. The interim fix rushed out a known issue with a low probability of causing a halt. And then on Friday morning, the network hit a variant of that issue, which caused it to halt a second time. And then the third halt had a different and previously undisclosed cause, which was triggered when validators restarted to install Friday morning's fix, which tripped a latent bug in how the network preserves its randomness setting between restarts. So, the validators have since fixed both the gas bug and the randomness bug. No user funds were ever at risk, and no settled transactions were reversed when the network came back online. As of now, validators have fully addressed the known issues caused by both the original gas charging bug and the randomness state bug, and network activity has resumed. AI agents were also credited with access to Sui's production systems, and that materially sped up the diagnosis. querying validator logs and assembling metrics on demand across the 3 incidents. So while we have AI being used on the attack, it's also being used on defense. That being said, if you tuned in to the Daily Digital Download last week, we did make a comment about how more or less AI is being used at a 2x effective rate to attack DeFi and blockchain networks than it is to defend. So it's twice as easy to come up with an attack than it is to come up with a defense using AI. That being said, I will never dunk on a blockchain network going down. I have worked in an ecosystem where we've had moments of blockchain going down, and it is terrifying and it is scary for all users because we want to keep our user funds SAFU. And then lastly, guys, in security season, Gravity Bridge was hacked, drained of $5.4 million in a suspected key compromise. Gravity Bridge is a cross-chain protocol between Ethereum and Cosmos. And yeah, it lost a lot of money, which security researchers believe was a compromised signing key and not a smart contract bug. This just continues to build upon the issues that we're seeing in 2026 with security. And that is that a lot of these attacks are not being done at the blockchain level themselves. They're being done at the infrastructure surrounding smart contracts, surrounding blockchain, which is scary. The amounts of stolen funds include $4.3 million in USDC, 274 wrapped Ether worth $500,000, 434K in Tether, and 14.16 PaxG tokens worth around $64,000. The attacker has already begun moving funds almost immediately. A portion of the haul was laundered through Change Now and then through Binance, while the theft wallet was still holding around 2,100 ETH, or around $4.23 million at the time of the hack. Yeah. This incident is fitting the ongoing pattern of 2026's bridge attacks, and this still has to be confirmed, so don't hold my word as weight of gold. While it looks like this was a bridge attack, it still hasn't been confirmed. But that being said, a lot of the bridge attacks in 2026 have surrounded around key security issues that provide vulnerabilities rather than exposing and exploiting flaws in the underlying smart contract code. If this is exactly what happened, this will have a similar root cause as to what happened with KelpDAO and Resolve earlier this year, where the audited code was not the weak point. We are seeing hundreds of millions of dollars being stolen because of exploits to infrastructure surrounding blockchain technology. And again, Standard Chartered mentioned a couple weeks ago that it's attacks like this in DeFi that are making it difficult for TradFi to get fully on board and engaged with DeFi protocols. So once again, we have to police ourselves and protect ourselves because the big boys and the big money does not want to come into DeFi right now, while we have these sorts of attacks that are just running rampant. In April and May, I want to say we definitely had more than 55 DeFi attacks in the 2 months. And we're on track for setting, that might have been a 2-month record, honestly, for the amount of attacks that happened in 2 months on DeFi and in DeFi protocols. So, crazy start to the week. If you go through your news sources like I did, there was barely any news on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this was the major news that came out of the week. Unbelievable. And so hopefully we can see clarity, the Clarity Act get pushed through, but there's a lot of negativity about law, a market structure bill, and a law being created here in the US. And at the same time, we're seeing major entities sell. We're seeing governments seizing other assets. We're continuing to exist in security season. So folks, re-up your knowledge on your security hygiene. Change your seed phrases. Move your crypto assets to new, safer, and secure wallets. Stay safe out there. It's rough. It's June. We're entering the last month of the first half of 2026. And guys, we've been in a bear market since October 10th of 2025. So there's still more time for more pain. And honestly, just the best you can do if you want to survive in crypto long term and you want to make it here and you want to be a long-term player, protect yourself, make sure you can't get liquidated, and live to survive another day. The game of crypto is a long-term game. And the trick is to not get caught up in short-term moments, of which crypto Twitter loves to get caught up in. Every take you're seeing right now on crypto Twitter about Saylor, about the Ethereum Foundation, about Ethereum, all of these hot takes were not being spoken about a year ago when we were still in a bull market. You just weren't finding all this dunking. So, zoom out. Don't panic sell. Don't panic buy. The best things you can do in moments when you're absolutely scared is review your security hygiene. Review where you're allocated and make sure that you're sticking to your plan that you developed 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago. Don't act irrationally. Don't act emotionally. And make sure your assets are safe. Just make sure you set yourself up to be here to fight another day, because that is what the cockroach does in crypto. And days like this, weeks like this, bear markets remind me that to make it in crypto, you have to be a cockroach. And so with all that said, folks, if you're looking for a steady head, a steady mind to follow, subscribe to our weekly newsletter at thesmarteconomist.beehive.com, where every week we talk about what's going on in the broader blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Keep yourself safe. Keep your head up. This too shall pass. Don't get caught up in what your favorite KOL is saying, because this week they're talking about hype. They're talking about near. And they were not talking about those tokens a year ago. Last week, 2 weeks ago, everyone was talking about VVV. No one's talking about Venice right now. So be wary who you follow. Don't follow the hype of your favorite key opinion leaders, your favorite KOLs on crypto Twitter, because their tune's going to change. I guarantee a month from now, 6 months from now, they won't be shilling you Zcash, hype, and near. They'll be talking about the next token that's super shiny, that's having a good moment. All right, folks, with all that said, thank you for tuning in today. We'll catch you tomorrow. Keep yourself safe out there. Don't get caught up in the nonsense. This is a long-term game we're playing. So align yourself with long-term people. And until then, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Peace.